Hello, everybody. So no secret here. What we're going to be talking about tonight is my out of the theater reaction to Aquaman 2, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Guys, I'm going to be perfectly honest. Do you remember when superhero films were just fun and they didn't have to be interconnected and they just had to be a good story? Remember those days? Remember when we didn't demand that everything be linked and interconnected and all of these out of control universes, and it was always the bigger picture and everything like that? This was so much fun, you guys. I had a blast. I went, my 4 children, husband, and I, all 6 of us went. We had a great time. First of all, we're gonna address a couple of the major concerns. It's a 2-hour runtime. It didn't feel like it. I mean, I've watched 90-minute movies where I'm like, oh my gosh, there's still 45 minutes left. And we got towards the end of this film and I was like, oh my gosh, it's almost over. Like, I can't believe 2 hours has passed. My kids sat for the whole thing and they are 5, 7, 9, and 11. So there is the fact that all of them sat through it. It was cute because my 5-year-old, the monsters, oh my gosh, you guys, the monsters were incredible. They looked so on point. Definitely Lovecraftian. James Wan's influence, Lovecraftian influence shines through with those monsters. He did a fantastic job with them. They didn't look like oversaturated CGI. It was fantastic, but it was cute because my 5-year-old would run over to my husband and like hop in his lap and hide, like cover her eyes and be like, "Ah, is it done?" And so it was really sweet because he got to be, big strong daddy while we were watching it, and we thought it was really cute and endearing. But outside of that, they stayed seated, and it was like the kids had fun. I had a great time. The score, I know I said we were going to talk about, some of the concerns, but like really, like I know the 2-hour runtime is the big concern for a lot of people. You don't feel it. And if my 4 kiddos can sit through it without any gripes or complaints, I promise you, like this story moves. Like this plot is it moves forward. It's very character generated. You've got some really great uh drivers throughout the story, whether it's exposition with Arthur telling a story to his son about when he beat up pirates, or it's Orm after he's touched the Black Trident and he's started to see exactly what happened to the Fallen Kingdom, the Lost Kingdom, what happened to it, the fact that they were brothers and that the fuel source made uh the dark brother, like, he went insane with it. He went insane with power. And he was convinced that Atlan, his brother, was, trying to take it from him, and all Atlan was trying to do was, stop him from poisoning the seas and the oceans, because that's what was going on. And it led to this huge war between brothers. And so it's very that arc is very interesting because you get Orm and Arthur's battle as brothers. And so it's very satisfying to sort of watch that and see the two of them grow throughout the film and just really deliver on that, the fact that brothers, when they stand together, are so much stronger. So the runtime is definitely not a problem. Heard is in this for, if I had to add all of it up, she's in it for the most part at the very beginning, where it's just sort of clipped scenes. She's sitting next, so it's her delivering Junior. It's them sitting on the couch with taking a family picture. It's her sitting next to Arthur on the throne while they get yelled at by the council and all the bureaucrats and the bureaucracy of it. And you get to see why Atlantis is sort of stuck in this derivative state that it's in, because the council will only, like, same thing, that same issue they had before. They don't want anything to do with the surface world unless it's to conquer them. That's about half the council. And Arthur's like, that's not what the world wants anymore. Like, we can't keep ignoring this because the what we used to do isn't going to protect us anymore. So it's really interesting to see sort of the bureaucracy of it, why he's being sort of held down, and you can see what it is that he loves about fighting pirates and breaking up illegal cage matches and different things like that, where he gets to kind of go out on patrol. You can see why he enjoys that type of freedom, because he's better at using his muscular strength than his diplomatic strength, which changes towards the end. He realizes that he does in fact have the capabilities of stepping up and being the king that both worlds, the surface and the sea, need him to be. So it's very interesting, with that aspect. He gives, and then Amber Heard takes a shot to the chest, and she's pretty much gone for the rest of the movie until her water powers. What For those of you that don't know, she can manipulate water. That comes in handy a couple times, um when Arthur is trying, without realizing what he's doing, he's fighting the Black Trident's magic without his own trident. So he's sort of on his own, and it causes some issues because, hey, this guy is way stronger than he was before, and he's not even in a power suit. And that's when Arthur realizes that something's going on. And so, after she heals from getting shot in the chest by Manta, she lifts a rock off of him, and then she brings some icicles down on some uh, Necronian. Necronian? The kingdom is Necris, so I'm just going to call them Necronians. On some Necronian monsters. And you find out through Orm's exposition that their own king did this to him because he was so obsessed with power that he turned to dark magic, and he corrupted his entire kingdom so that he could hold on to it. And it's just, I wish we could have delved more into that aspect of it, like how the power, if you allow it, it will utterly corrupt you. And how it can blind you to the fact that people actually care about you or are worried about you. You're not going to see that. All you see is someone trying to encroach and take away what you've been hoarding to yourself. But I think the approach to it was, it helped keep the plot moving. But that's one aspect that I thought they could have explored a little bit more, in my humble opinion. And then, of course, Amber Heard is there at the end. My favorite part, I'm gonna like, Arthur. So after Amber Heard takes a manta ray to the chest, she's about to die, and Arthur gets to shine as a son, as a husband, as a father, and as a brother, and as a king. He gets to be so masculine in this movie. I was actually freaking floored. And he doesn't even take his shirt off. Like, the whole trope of, oh, it's a half naked Momoa. Guys, it's not in there. Like, he just looks good in his suits, and he's wearing his, like, he's wearing his his island shirt and everything like that, like his surface clothes and stuff. But he legitimately just, oh man, he gets to be so strong. Like, literally, or as and Disbrew like to tell me, literally, Manta's about to impale Mara, and just out of nowhere, like with the strength of only a husband can have, comes flying out the side and just like bellows like that deep guttural protective like get away from my wife, like woo, that was fan freaking tat. I loved that part. But my favorite part is Arthur Jr. has the same power as Arthur, and Arthur's like, I've waited my whole life to share this with somebody. Like, this is, this bond is going to it's going to strengthen us, and I'm going to be able to show him so much, and he's going to understand exactly what I mean when I say it. So they have this whole other level of bond going on. And the best thing that I can say is like at towards the end, so to kind of wrap this plot around, Atlan imprisoned his brother in Antarctica. It's a huge, so Antarctica is actually a huge ice prison for the Lost Kingdom. Because he used dark magic and because he used this fuel source, this was the only way that Atlan could seal it up and make sure that it was never used again, because he couldn't destroy his brother. And the fuel source, if you destroy it or if you burn it, I mean, it's essentially nuclear waste is the best way to kind of it would be the closest comparison to it. So if you burn it or it blows up, like, it's going to cause serious issues. So he basically encased the Lost Kingdom in the Antarctic ice shelf. And so in the final straw, like, you can't just melt it because it's sealed with blood magic from Atlan's line. Spoilers, should have said that first. But that's why they need somebody from the royal bloodline in order to break out the Dark King, because without the blood, you like that gate, like, it's going to stay sealed. So Manta is slowly being taken over by the power of the Black Trident. He is slowly being corrupted, and it wasn't hard because he already hated Aquaman. He already hated the sea dwellers. He doesn't care if the world burns. He just wants his revenge, which is a whole other motivation in this film that's just like, it's played perfectly to a T, because at the end, Aquaman stares down at this man who nearly killed his wife, nearly killed his father, tried to murder his son in order to break this blood curse, and he still reaches down his hands to try and save him, and Manta's like, never. And Manta just like lets himself fall to his own death. Or does he die? This man is a cockroach. Like, Black Manta should be renamed Black Cockroach, because this dude don't die. All right. So it's ambiguous whether or not he actually dies at the end, because of course he fell. So you're like, well, he survived a whole lot worse before. So it would be very interesting to see. Obviously, they left it open for the ability to have a trilogy, but as we know, that's going to be really hard to do if people don't show up for it. But the revenge aspect in this film, he played it perfectly. But what happens is, so as I said, Arthur Jr. has the same power as Arthur, and Arthur Jr. is crying like he's a baby. He doesn't know what to do, so he sends out his distress signal, and his dad hears it, and he knows that his son is about to be slaughtered and sacrificed, and he literally blows through the door, like shanks Manta, like gets Manta in the face, like busts up his helmet with his trident, and then he comes in and he gets to be protective dad, and he's like, get the hell away from my son. Like, it's so incredible, like, what he gets to do. And then he proceeds to beat the living bejesus out of Black Manta. And I mean, like takes his bare knuckles this bastard. Like, yeah, he goes at him with the trident, but just like utterly destroys him. And then when the Black Trident, Manta throws it to try and kill Mera, who's running away with Arthur Jr., and Orm catches it. But of course, Orm has this lust for power inside of him too. He wants the throne, and it's a very similar. You see a very similar storyline play out with two brothers. One thinks that he's trying to have the throne stolen from him. The other is literally just trying to be a brother, and it takes some serious convincing, and the first attempt to kill the Dark King does not work. However, the second attempt is a little bit more successful. That's all I will say, because I don't want to like ruin it. But throughout the whole thing, the score was a lot of fun. It was its own character, which is something we've been missing for a long time in film in general. But it was just a lot of fun. It wasn't AC/DC, but it was a good time. And the ending scene when King Arthur is addressing the UN, there is definitely he had fun with those lines. I will just say that much. The mid-credit scene, I could have lived. So there is a point where Arthur and Orm are trekking through this unnatural jungle that has been corrupted by the orthillium, which is the fuel source. And locusts are like the size of boulders, like they're huge. You've got rats the size of like dinosaurs. It's crazy when they're going through this jungle, because this engine that has been created to heat up the earth, like it's literally its whole purpose was to heat up the earth, to melt the Antarctic prison. That's its whole purpose. It's hidden inside of a volcano, which makes a lot of sense. So they're on this island with this volcano. It's called Devil's Deep. And Arthur gets Orm to eat a cockroach, and he's like, yeah, it's the shrimp of the land. Could have gone my whole life without the bug eating joke. But it's like, some people are gonna read really deep into it. Having had older siblings and older cousins, and just uncles in general, with my, like, guys do this to each, like, it's hazing. He hazed his little brother and got him to eat a cockroach, and Orm's like, you guys eat these? And Arthur's like, yeah, they're the shrimp of the land. Oh, could have gone my whole life without that. It was so gross. And then in the mid-credit scene, there's a cockroach walking across the table, and Orm picks it up and he puts it, so Orm's eating a burger because his brother, he's like, they're going through at one point, Arthur's like, your prejudice, he's like, the food is so much better up here. Your prejudice is stopping you from enjoying half the world. And Orm's just like, yeah, well. And so Orm is eating his first cheeseburger and drinking his first Guinness, and he adds a cockroach to the burger because it's supposed to be a play on when he ate it before. And he thought that, yeah, it was just, I don't know. It was so, like, of all the things in the show, the cockroach is probably the most unnecessary thing. Having had to have eaten some not so yummy things in my life, if I could never see someone eat like, that's the scene, so like when I watch Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, I excuse myself from the room when they're eating the for in the poor village, and they're eating the bugs, and then they go up to the palace, of course, and she's like, I don't want monkey brains, I don't want this, I don't like all of this stuff that's on the table, and she's like, do you just have soup? And then the eyeballs are in the soup. Yeah, I excuse myself during that part too. Solely, like, food is something that I have come to particularly appreciate and love. And so I don't like those, like, I feel that was completely unnecessary. Like, I get why they did it. I get the hazing. But like, good Lord, it's just absurd. But yeah, if I would give this movie, I'm actually, guys, I had a great time with it. I would give it a B. Honest to God, a straight B. Not a B minus, not a B plus. It's a 85. It's a B. I really enjoyed my time. It was fun, it was endearing. You could completely believe the brotherly banter. Um, you know, Arthur is calling Orm his little brother in like a mockery, and through the whole thing, Orm's like, "Do not call me your brother." And then they get to know a bit about each other, um, and it it really just their relationship, their character growth, and their arc really helps sell the story. But like this whole movie really centers around like family and the like staying together and being there for one another. It's so much fun. Um I really truly enjoyed it. I personally think it's worth it. It's not the greatest story ever told, but it is not at all the worst by far. I really, really loved it. I'm trying to think. I know people had concerns. Like I said, Amber Heard is in it at all of like 9 to 10 minutes, maybe. Um, her scenes are very she's either standing off to the side. Like, really, the only time she's front and center is right at the beginning when she gets shot in the chest. And right at the end when she's rescuing her son, obviously, as a mother should and would do, rescues her son. Um, and then Arthur sends her out with Arthur Jr. so that he can fight Manta and the Dark King and Orm, who has touched the Black Trident, and like try to, call him back. Like it's very much a husband protecting his family, a father protecting his son, a husband protecting his wife, and a man really trying to hold everything together. Um, and it's a really fun time. The negatives, the story could have been a little bit tighter in some aspects. Um, there was a pee joke, um, but it was kind of fun. So like Mira, who is always so serious with her powers, literally like alters Arthur Jr.'s pee so it hits Arthur in the face, which I thought was actually kind of funny because if you've ever changed diapers, that's exactly you get shot in the face all the time. Like no matter how good you are, once in a while, something's gonna get through. Um so and yeah, parents you do get exhausted. Um but you still power through and you still do the thing. And it was really great. Um on the sacrificial level, Arthur Arthur had to give up in order to save some Atlanteans. He had to give up chasing Black Manta. Um, so he had to sacrifice that there. He also was willing to sacrifice being king in order to break Orm out of prison. Um, and then, of course, he nearly loses his father, his wife, and his son. Um, luck. So, uh, he doesn't. None of his core family dies. Um, there is a moment where you think Orm turns evil. Can I just say, really and truly, like Patrick Wilson played this role to perfection. He was so good. Like, and there's a part where you think he's going to abandon people and just let them die to these heinous monsters from Necris. And like you're really like, oh my god, he did the grin at like he looked down, he grinned, he walked away, and you're just like, dude. And but he played this to perfection. He keeps you guessing whether he's gonna turn on his brother or not. It's really interesting. Um and uh I mean the chemistry between there is no chemistry between Amber Heard and Jason Momoa, even their kiss at the end, he walks up to her and he's like, "My love." And he gives her a kiss, but you don't actually see it. You more hear it than you see it. And then he just takes and he's like, "My son," like he's hugging his family. Um so the focus is very little on Mara and Arthur, and it is very much Orm and Arthur's story, which was so good. Like it was so good. I wish it had been a little bit more focused, and what I mean by that is um there is a part where Orm starts to realize that Arthur never wanted the throne. It was simply because Orm was a psychopath, and allowed the power of the throne to corrupt him, that Arthur finally did something about it, but he never actually wanted it. And we don't really get to explore that until Orm grabs the trident. Um, so I kind of wish there had been, like I said, I wish that had been a little bit more fleshed out. I wish Atlan and his brother and the blood curse had been a little bit more fleshed out. Um, so, but I liked how Manta's um like sole focus of revenge allowed him to be the perfect vessel for Necron, or oh no, what's his name? King's brother, the Dark King, basically from Necros. Um and it's uh I think that if we had gotten to explore those a little bit more, it would have been a little bit more lore deep. But we do get to start to delve into the lore, because you hear more about the fall, and you hear more about the lost kingdom, and you're like, all we know is that it got stricken from the records. And Orm suddenly, the by from touching the black trident, he has memories that aren't his own. So there's a lot of psychological aspects in this movie. There are like, I don't know why people are calling this about, I don't know who is reviewing this movie. Um but it it's it was so much fun, and it actually, there were parts where it got incredibly deep. And yeah, like really, it was heavy-handed on the climate crisis message, but again, it made sense in the context of the film, um, why everything was happening the way that it was. And um, really, the runtime wasn't a problem for me. And Amber Heard was barely in it. I mean, trying to think, I really don't have very many negatives about this movie. Um, it was It was funny, it was endearing, it was genuine. You can tell Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson are having fun. Um, you can you can tell that they actually care about this project. The delivery, it was taken with a good sense of humor, but also it doesn't take itself as a joke, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, which has been something that has been missing. It takes itself way too seriously, like Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Um, but there's oof, there's so much to love about this film. It really was a good time. I recommend it if you're looking for something to go watch. I really do. It's I mean, like I said, I would give it a B. Just a straight B. So let's see what some of you guys have to say. Hi, by the way, chat. I just sort of dove right into it because I really did. I had a great time with this film. Um, it's not going to win any Oscars, but it's definitely, and it's rewatchable. Like, that's the other thing. Like, I would never you could not pay me to rewatch The Marvels or The Flash or The Eternals. You couldn't pay me to rewatch them. You would literally have to Clockwork Orange me and stick me in a chair and do the whole like hold your eyelids open thing to rewatch those. I would happily go watch. In fact, I'm probably gonna go watch it again this weekend with my sister, and my brother-in-law and my nephews. Like, I'll probably go watch it again. They're gonna pay for themselves, of course. But really, it's rewatchable, which is great. Um, so let's see who's all here. Legioness, what is going on? Mando Unchained. Yes, but it's been a long time. Oh, you're talking about how superhero movies used to just be fun and they didn't have to they didn't have to be in this bigger universe. Yes, that's the great thing. Everybody's like, "What's the point? It doesn't lead anywhere." Do you guys remember when standalone movies were a thing? Do you remember when movies could just be movies and they could just be fun? That is Aquaman 2, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. It is a great, funny, endearing, wonderful romp through the sea, trying to save his family and ends up saving the world in the process. Like that's what movies used to be. They used to be standalone fun times that you could watch over and over and over again. That's what they used to be. I think the MCU especially has completely what is the word? I don't want to like it's buried that concept, that notion, because you're so used to, well, what is the next thing? It's okay if this is its own thing. Like, that is okay. It can be its own thing and be good. That is a possibility. It doesn't like I would much rather have a movie that doesn't need to rely on the next thing to be considered good or to add context or to find a way to manipulate it through the backflips of my brain to enjoy it. Honestly, the fact that I can enjoy it as is says a lot about this film and says a lot about the chemistry of this cast, particularly between um, Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa. Like, you genuinely believe they are brothers. I bet the two of them got along great on set because it definitely translated to the screen. That is something you can't fake. And like we heard the rumors about how Amber Heard and Jason Momoa didn't belong really behind the scenes, and that translated to the screen. Yeah, the professional. Yeah, they made it work, but you could tell that there was just like nothing there between them. You don't get that with Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa. It's a better love story. The bromance is better than the romance, which is hilarious. But because it's genuine and because it's real, it's something that helps you just immerse yourself in the film, which is great. I love when you can really get into characters and how they interact with each other and how they pull each other up, bring each other down, even each other out, whatever their dynamic might be, really getting to understand that, especially when they're trying to find their own dynamic. It's great. I love it. Merry Christmas, Brimstone. Yes, Merry Christmas, chat. Yeah, yes, before the dark times, you could literally just go watch a movie and enjoy it and it be good and not have to rely, like I said, on the next thing. I mean, that's the whole point. Like, that used to be the whole point of movies. You go, you watch, you enjoy or you don't enjoy. It's not, well, I'll wait for the next thing to come out to see if there's context I'm missing to add to what I just saw so then I can make my determination. No, I'm telling you straight out of the theater, I had a good time. I only listed 4 of my 5. What of your eldest, aka hubby? Oh, he was there. He was there. He got to play big strong dad when the scary monsters came out. And he got to tell our 5-year-old that he's killed thousands of those monsters. So she's no worries. No worries. Hail! What is going on, Commissar General Ma? Thank you for being here. Hail and Merry Christmas. D-Day Direwolf, what's going on? Nice. I'll watch it. I'm telling you, like, it is a good time. There are very few parts where you're like, and it's usually like you're just like, yeah, we get it with the climate crisis messaging. We get it. But when you really, the fact that they were able to work it into the plot and the fact that you have an entire volcano engine working against the planet makes sense why people are panicking. It really does. But honestly, if you just clean up after yourself and be a personally responsible adult, you'll be fine. Manta ray to the chest. Going to use that euphemism, Lady G. Okay, not sure what the euphemism was, but there you go. I don't know what this was in reference to, D-Day Direwolf, but yes, I said wow many times. The biggest wows being when um the biggest wows being when Arthur got to be like he was masculine through this whole thing. Like he I mean, especially when he's fighting for his son and he's fighting for his wife and he's fighting for his dad and his mom and his kingdom. This man is like he's fighting everybody to just protect what matters to him. It it's awesome. So yeah, those were my wows from the story. Merry Christmas, giggles. Um Giggles and bits. Merry Christmas. What did you say here, Legionist? Bad guys never die. Oh, yep. When Manta fell. Bad guys never die. They just make it look that way. So when they return, it is a shock surprise to the good guys. I don't know. Like when he was falling, he definitely broke his spine because he hit a jagged rock that tossed his body like a rag doll. I am just saying. The post-credit scene there was a mid-credit scene. There was no post-credit scene. The mid-credit scene again was Orm putting a cockroach on his burger because gross. Yes, I get that was a hazing joke, but bleh. Like, and also it just ruins a perfectly good burger. Burgers are delicious. I love burgers. I really do. So the Aquaman speaking to the UN is not just climate allegory, but also to keep the Antarctic ice shelf was melting, helping the Lost King from returning. Yes. So, he's not just up there spewing about climate control and climate crisis. Like that's not what it is. He's literally like, "Hey, this evil has been defeated, but there easily could be more things, more of his creatures imprisoned in that ice. And yes, his magic, it appears his magic collapsed on itself, but that doesn't mean that the creature stopped existing. So he's very much like we don't know what else could be hidden in this shelf. We all have a common goal. We all share the same planet. It's time we start working together. And then he really like it's the classic trope of yes, we have our differences, but underneath it all, you know, we need to look past the surface. We're more than just what we look like or what we do. And so it gives like this message of hope and unity. And then he gets to rattle off his titles. I'm not going to spoil the end because you can tell Jason Momoa, like, he had a lot of fun with those lines. And really, I couldn't deliver them even as close to as good as he did. So definitely go watch it, see how it ends. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, but you're going to laugh so hard and you're going to be like, why did that land? Why did that stick? It's so great. What's up, Proven 22X? Gentlemen, this is the power of abs. What's the power of abs? Swimming? You need abs to swim. That is true. So Aquaman does not lose his hand saving his son. No. Someone does lose their hand. But it is not Arthur this time. The baby was almost killed. Not like not in the comics. The rumors, so apparently part of the walkout was because the baby initially died. That was the whole thing. That was like people did not. Yes, it happened in the comics, but as we know, normies are very much Aquaman. For some reason, normies have really latched onto, and so Um, uh, Aqua Baby dying did not go over well. Um, so Aqua Baby nearly dies. Um, but again, Arthur gets to come in and he gets to be a dad. The good dad trope in here. Oh my gosh, you literally have there's a point where um Momoa is sitting down at the table with his dad. So Arthur's sitting down at the table with his dad and he's like, I have no idea how you did it. This was in the trailer and he's like, well, my job was a little less stressful than yours. But they just talk about like being dads and the fact that he and Mara kind of like are passing ships in the night and how it's so hard uh to do this and there it's it's really interesting to sort of see that dynamic of it and cuz it's not something that either of them wanted. uh They do cheers. I think this was probably the biggest cringe moment for me was not any of Amber Heard's lines or scenes. It wasn't the climate crisis. And I said it was a cockroach, but I don't think it's that. I think it's when, and I know why they did it. It was camaraderie and they were, um, you know, having a moment over the fact of like father and son are going through very similar experiences, but they cheers to single parents. They're just like to single parents. And I was like, "Oh, that's probably not something that we should cheers." Like I get why you're doing it, and it's not like in cuz neither of their situation is a typical single parent situation. Um but I still don't think that that's something that should have been super highlighted. Um yeah, cuz like I said I was trying to think of other gripes about the movie. So now I'm nitpicking. Um but Um, yeah, I think that was probably it. Lady G has good taste in movies. I may check this out. Respect. Well, thank you, Proven 22X. Like I said, I really had it was a fun time. Um, there's plenty of action in it. Um, there's enough plot to make you think. You can pretty well figure certain things, certain aspects out. Um, Along the way, which is fine because this isn't supposed to be like a a thriller or a mind bender or anything like that. It's supposed to be a superhero action film. So the fact that it has a plot that actually makes you sort of consider and think is just a bonus, quite frankly. But like I said, there's very few moments where where you're like, ah, that was heavy handed, or I don't know about that. I think I've listed them all. It's the single parent, um, yeah, the single parent cheers, the cockroach, uh, the heavy handed messaging of the climate crisis, but again, that has context in the story. Um, Otherwise, I actually almost wish this like, I can't believe I'm saying this. I kind of almost wish this film was longer so we could have explored different aspects more deeply. Like, we could have fleshed out certain storylines better. I think, there's a couple of scenes that aren't necessary. Uh, like, we didn't really have to go to the pirate hideout. I mean, I get why we went there. And really it serves multiple purposes. You get to see where Orm's information was coming from in the first movie. So that's kind of like you it makes sense how he connected with Manta. Um and you get to it really, I think what James Wan was shooting for was um a Star Wars feel, almost like it was like a mix between Star Wars and Pirates of the Caribbean, because you have the bar with all of these creatures, you have the singer, you have the really fat overlord that they need to get information from. Um, but even that, it didn't feel super contrived. I don't like I think there could have been other ways around it, but I get why we did it. Um, but really, it was a lot of fun. It's a good superhero action film. Hi, Steeg. Yep. I spent time with so it's Christmas break, so kiddos and I and hubby spent some time together, and then we went to Aquaman 2, and then it was bedtime. And now I'm talking to all of you guys. So it was a good time. Um Necrons. Oh, sorry. Yes, Proven 22X Eternals was terrible. I will never, like, it would take an act of God to make me watch that again. I don't know why I would ever willingly do so. Um, yeah. No. Um, I am never again. Never ever. I was interested when you mentioned Necrons in this. Yeah, they're not called Necrons, but um so it's the kingdom's name is Necros. It's like Necros. Um and it's uh it's well named. Everything there is dead and re-risen. But it I don't know. I don't remember, like, I am not gonna lie, I've not read all of the Aquaman comics. I know that Necrus, or is it Necrus? Well, all I know is that it was doomed. And it's it led to the war between brothers. Um and you really do let me see if I can pull up a picture of so like you get to see some of the monsters in the trailer. 1 second. Okay, I just didn't want you guys to hear me clickety clackety on my board, on my keyboard, because it clicks and clacks and it's kind of loud. Let me see. Do 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 do. Why can't I find it? Because they're in the trailer. Um, they look fantastic in the film. They're really well done, even if it is like they're not super. They don't overwhelm the screen. They're not on the screen for very long. Like we get clips here and there, but when they're actually like fighting and battling, they look really good. Let me see. I'm gonna have to. Oh, you guys are gonna hear my keyboard click and clack, I guess. Let me see if I can try and do this without getting copyright struck. Quite frankly. Let's see. Do. Some like usually I've of late of superhero films, like the best scenes are in the trailer. That's not the case here. Some of the really good scenes are in the trailer, but they're not the only good scenes, which is a wonderful reprieve. And so you really get to just absolutely enjoy. Okay, so here is the king. I'm gonna give you guys the screenshot. In influence. Excuse me, influence. It's very very apparent. So here is the king of Necrus. And this is a vision that he shows Manta. You can see a lot of the Lovecraft. You can see a lot of the Lovecraftian elements and monsters down below him. It's really well done. The CGI, like I said, it's not overdone. It's not a there was only one part where I was like it wasn't very clean. Um and even after, I'm trying to see if there's another okay, so here's, you can't really see, like, obviously you can't really see, but if I hit play, I'm gonna get, there's the king again. If I hit play, I'm gonna get nailed because Warner Brothers is ridiculous like that. But you can see, like, on the bridge, you've got all of these monsters that are trying to stop them from reaching the throne room and preventing Manta from breaking the curse. So it's actually really, really well done. And it's a lot of fun. The motivations make sense. There's not a lot of plot contrivances. The only thing that you're kind of like, that was sort of luck, is how Manta finds the Black Trident. You're like, well, couldn't someone else have sort of come along and done that? But really, it couldn't have, because a lot of stuff had to shift, a lot of stuff had to happen. And they actively, because they were actively looking for it, and they were actively trying to sort of break into the Antarctic ice shelf, it actually makes sense that they found it. It's not like it isn't like someone just walked up and handed Black Manta the trident and was like, "Congratulations, you have found it." It was more, he used his own men as cannon fodder, managed to duck a monster, got thrown because he, like, you'll almost miss it because he was so fast. But he actually, like, he gets a stab in on the monster, so the monster chucks him, and he's able to he's able to from there, the trident sort of calls out to his lust for power and his lust for vengeance. So that's how the trident is able to sort of latch on to him. Because obviously if it's just monsters floating around, they don't really have, they have a survival drive, of course, but they don't really have emotions that can make them manipulated, which is why Arthur's ability to talk to and command animals is such a big deal. So there's all of that playing into it, so it actually makes it really rather interesting. It's an interesting aspect and dynamic. But yeah, they're not called Necrons, but I don't know what else to call them. Because I will be the first to admit, Aquaman was not my number one comic. That's I am a Batman, Superman, Hawkman fan. Those are mine. But yeah, Necrons make for great foot grease for the machine spirits. Praise the. Yeah, but see, I don't know what else to call him. Yes, Soul Assassin. It is a great way to kill. It's a great way to kill 2 hours. It's a good date movie. Especially if your date is, like, if you like action, if you like good storytelling, and if you like families, and having that core family unit, which again is something like, I am so happy that trope came through, because it was one of the tropes I was looking forward to, was the good dad trope, and I got it in spades, which was just fantastic to watch. And it was the fact that Aquaman gets to be masculine. He doesn't get cucked. I mean, he's getting crushed by a boulder. So Mara, with her water powers, is able to help him. And there's one other time where, because they're fighting together as husband and wife, Mara's powers help rescue him. but they use like an ultrasonic cannon in the water, which is really brilliant when you think about it. And then the way that Arthur is able to overcome that, like how he overcomes that obstacle, really shows what he's capable of as a tactician, which I love. Um, it's really, it is a great way to kill 2 hours. It's a lot of fun, you guys. I really enjoyed it. I need to watch Split Second from 1992. Got Rutger Hauer in it. Homework for you. Okay. Necrons, Necris. Sounds Xeno to me. Yeah, you're definitely, like, they are definitely of the undead variety. That is for sure. Yes, I love me some Lovecraftian influenced anything as well. I'm gonna say your name wrong. Pepina? We'll call you Pepina. But hi, thanks for coming, by the way. Yes, absolutely good stuff. Yeah, not something that I would have expected in an Aquaman story as well. Yeah, Necris. I couldn't remember if it was a K or C. Like I would assume they put it up on the screen. But my brain short circuited and I couldn't remember if it was a K or a C, so I went with K. Yes, the Black City, also the Doomed City. Arthur's mom. Arthur and Orm's mom. After Orm touches the trident and he shares with them like how he knows this, because they're like, we don't even know its name anymore, and he's like, it's Necris. And he's like, I'm having memories that aren't my own. And she's like, the only thing we know is that shortly before the fall, all records were stricken. And then you find out why. It's because Atlan didn't want anybody to know that it was his brother. Didn't want anybody to know about the blood curse. Because if they know that it's a blood curse, then they know that they need the royal blood to break the curse. Hence why now Arthur Jr. is in danger. So it's honestly, outside of the few times that it, like, there are a few things that it could have been a little bit tighter. There are scenes that probably were like unnecessary, like honestly, there's so few and far between. If the story was just a little bit tighter, I would have given this movie probably a B plus or an A minus. But it's a B movie, which is outstanding for what we have gotten so far in the past like 2 years when it comes to superhero films. I know a lot of people make exception for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I was not impressed with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I was not impressed with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I thought Guardians of the Galaxy was good. I liked the first one. The second one, I grossly disliked because a big part of it is the bad dad trope. I will admit to that. But just overall, I didn't feel that film really delivered in any way. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3 just felt hollow and inauthentic. Those are the best ways I could describe it. So yeah, honestly, guys, I hope you don't feel like I've buried the lead. I know there were a ton of spoilers, but that was one of the best times I've had at the movie theater. Like, Godzilla Minus One was a fantastic time. It's a great movie. And I think everybody should go see that. I also think everybody should go see Aquaman. Like, just spend your Christmas weekend at the theater with the family. It'll be great. But the fact that there's actually stuff for you to see, that's pretty incredible. I know that people were like, "Oh, this, that, and the other, and it's gonna bomb. It's awful. It's the worst DC movie ever." We're gonna break that myth up right freaking now. This movie is so much better than The Flash. It's not even funny. Like, genuinely, mild. Like, The Flash is an F minus. This is a B movie. Like, it's so there's a few things that it really could have, if it tightened up, it would have been an A movie. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised when people go watch it. It's a lot of fun. There's really there's nothing overly bad about it. Um I think I think especially compared to what we've been subjected to in the past 2 years. I mean, this blows anything that Marvel has done since Endgame out of the water. It's not even close. Um it's just, I think you'll really enjoy it. I hope you really enjoy it. I certainly did. Um and you just sort of like, you get those moments in the movie where it's just like this knowing grin, or this cavalier smile, and you just really get taken along for the ride, and it's so much fun. Like, it's, oh man, I wish I had better words for it. I wish I was a bit more eloquent with my immediate reaction, but for me, this movie definitely swims strong. It's a definitely didn't sink. I think that it's probably, gosh, if I had to compare it to the rest of the DCEU, I I think I like this one better than Wonder Woman. I really do. Um, because Wonder Woman took itself really serious, which, I mean, the tone of the film, it kind of had to. But this is just good old fashioned superhero standalone fun. I am repeating myself ad nauseum, but it's true. I hope you guys can understand that. Like I said before I did this and in my previous reviews, like, I'm rooting for this film, so take that with a grain of salt. I'm not blind to some of its to the few issues that it has. Like I said, um there's places where the plot could have been tighter, bit heavy-handed. I mean, it's pretty heavy-handed with the messaging of the global warming crisis, but you take that into context, and they actually had a storyline that allowed that to make sense in the movie. Um and then, like, oh man, Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa's chemistry. It's, if you guys have ever watched Supernatural, the Sam and Dean Winchester brotherly banter and relationship, it's very reminiscent of that from season 1. Like, where Sam is reluctant and kind of wants out, and Dean is all in and is like trying to get his brother to admit who and what he is, and that they are brothers, that they are family, and that this is who they are. So the Patrick Wilson Jason Momoa chemistry is fantastic. um and it's, I mean, Amber Heard had to be in it because they have a son. So obviously she's going to be there to rescue their child and to have the child. Um, but like I said, outside of that, she basically gets blasted in the chest and kind of disappears for a good chunk of the movie. Um, it's it's a fun time. It's a great way to spend 2 hours. It really is. I don't think you guys are going to be disappointed. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. No, I don't troll. Junwa. Like, I am being honest with you. I was rooting for this movie. I'm not blind to its faults. The plot could have been a little bit tighter. It's heavy-handed with some messaging. Um, not everything lands. There's really only one point. There might be a couple others, but there's really only one point where the CGI didn't hold up well, um, or as well as it could have or should have, especially compared to the rest of the film. But honestly, it's basically two brothers on a journey to figure out what's going on, then trying to save their family, and in turn saving the world. Two worlds. So it's a great time. The first Wonder Woman solo film, yeah, it's yeah, it I like I said, the first Wonder Woman movie takes itself very seriously. This movie manages to walk the line between being serious, not taking itself as a joke, but also not taking itself too seriously. It manages to walk that line. And that, I truly believe, comes down to, again, Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa's chemistry. They're able to, the deadpan is great, the timing is wonderful. There's one liners that absolutely stick. Um, so it's a good time. It's fun. Like I said at the beginning of this, do you remember when superhero films were just superhero films and you could enjoy them in isolation and it didn't have to lead into anything and you didn't need the next three films to make this one make sense? They were just good on their own. They were just fun on their own. They didn't have to be A plus plus movies to be enjoyed. Like, this was genuinely for, like, horror fans are gonna love this movie. Aquaman fans are gonna enjoy this movie. Um, Comic book fans, obviously, like, we can get into the comic book accuracy, the fact that Momoa doesn't look like Arthur. I've hammered that one home myself several times. Um, but all in all, this is like a superhero movie from like 2014, 2013, before they had to be interconnected to an insane universe and be like, oh, well, what's the point of watching it if it doesn't tie in anything or if it doesn't go anywhere? Because it's just it's a good, fun time. You just get to go enjoy. You get to sit down, listen to a score that actually helps with it, like, immerse yourself in the film. You get to watch, these guys have a great time, deliver decent storytelling, um, have a good time with it, and you get some laughs and some smiles. Like, it's definitely a popcorn movie. So I definitely recommend it. I think, sorry, 1 second. Oh, excuse me. I definitely think, um, where Wonder Woman took itself so seriously, this film was able to split the difference successfully, if that makes sense. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. No Leaf Clover, what's going on? Hello, Merry Christmas. But that is pretty much that's pretty much it. I don't want to ruin too much more of it. I've already, like, given you guys plenty of spoilers. But it's a good time. And Arthur, it's interesting because as Arthur learns what it takes to be a king, it's not all glamour and battles and lordship. There's actual, like, bureaucracy and paperwork and red tape. One of those things where, like, you can't get out of your own way, or like the council won't get out of its own way type deals. And you can kind of see, um, when he, at the end, when he really takes control. But I don't know. Like, it was a lot of fun. It was It could have been paced a little bit better. That's probably one of the other things. There's sometimes where like you go from one scene to the next, you just like bang bang and you're like, woo. Um and some of the fights, like there if it's almost like it was shot in real time. Like some of the fights just like they happen and you're like, whoa. Um which I actually kind of liked. Because you're like, okay, we know that it's coming, but obviously they're gonna have to like, no, they don't have time. Um and it's just great. And the fact that Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson are able to, neither one of them outshines the other. They really do complement each other. Um it helps with the overall story. And that is pretty much the good, the bad, the long, the short. Very few complaints or concerns. Um really, like, at this point it's just kind of nitpicks. Um and I mean, you can't even everybody wants to joke. You can't even blame it on a half naked Momoa this time. Cuz he's not in it. It's just he's got clothes on. In fact, at one point he's like in a t-shirt and a robe. Like you see far less of Momoa's skin. You see Patrick Wilson half like shirtless. I'm trying to remember at like you see Patrick Wilson shirtless. I don't think you ever see Momoa shirtless. So definitely can't if this oh my gosh, my heart would be so happy if this film hit like 800,000 when they're like, "Oh, well, if the Marvels cuz like everybody's like, "Well, the Marvels flopped, so obviously Aquaman 2 is going to flop." Um that's not the case at all. But if Aquaman 2 manages to hit 750 or 800 um without Momoa taking off his shirt, when everybody's like, well, if the Marvels couldn't do it, Aquaman 2 couldn't do it, I'm going to laugh so freaking hard. Like that would make this movie all the better for me. But yeah, this movie is entirely rewatchable. It was very enjoyable. Um it's a good way to spend 2 hours. Let me know if you guys have any other questions about it, but really it was just I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I give it E. So I hope you guys go check it out. Let me know what you think. Do you see other issues that maybe I missed? Are there really good solid parts that I might have glossed over or didn't dive into? What did you like? I really want to know what you guys think of the uh Necris and the Fallen Kingdom and its subjects and the curse and everything like that. What did you think of the Lovecraftian influence? So please go check it out. Tell me what you think. Let me know if you think I'm way off kilter or if I, was able to, like I promised. I really am. My whole goal in this is to give as honest and unbiased of a review as possible. But I was not disappointed in this film. It like I was expecting a C minus movie and I got a B movie. So I am ecstatic. Like I am probably going to do backflips when I get off of this stream cuz I really did just enjoy the ever loving bejesus out of it. It was fun. Um so I hope I hope you guys check it out. I hope you guys love it as much as I did. And even if you don't, let me know what worked for you, what didn't work for you. If I missed anything, whether it be good, bad, or ugly. And thanks for stopping by and hearing what I had to say. And I try not to lead you guys astray. So like I said, I'm trying to give as honest and unbiased of a review as possible. Let me know what you guys think. I really appreciate everybody stopping by. Merry Christmas. I'll be live again probably tomorrow and Saturday. But we'll see. But Merry Christmas. God bless. Godspeed. Much love and good night.